Welcome to Sleepy Science Brain. Tonight we will explore what happens to thoughts as the brain transitions from wakefulness into an unstructured state. Mental activity does not stop when the body becomes still. It does not fade when the room becomes quiet. The brain remains active. Thoughts continue. Internal speech continues. The mind generates thought. It organizes, it plans, it reviews, it narrates. This is the continuation of processes that were active during the day. But slowly, without announcement, without a clear moment of transition, this structure begins to change. The thoughts that were precise become less precise. The control that was present begins to loosen. This happens gradually, softly, without resistance. Tonight we will move through the slow dissolution of structured thinking, the gradual fading of mental activity, and it begins quietly, without awareness, without boundary. When the room becomes quiet, the mind does not become quiet with it. The absence of sound does not create the absence of thought. External noise fades, internal noise continues. Throughout the day, the brain processes information from the environment. Sounds arrive, images appear, conversations occur. The mind responds to these events as they happen. When the environment becomes still, the brain does not stop this activity. It continues to generate thought. It continues to process. It continues to move through patterns that were established during the day. The thoughts that were interrupted earlier return. The thoughts that were incomplete continue. The mind does not require new information to remain active. It uses what is already present. A conversation from earlier in the day may continue in the mind. The words may replay without intention. The tone may return without prompting. The brain does not distinguish between a conversation that is happening and a conversation that is being remembered. Both create activity. Both generate internal sound. The mind contains fragments of language that were not fully resolved, questions that were not answered, statements that were not finished. These fragments do not disappear when external activity stops. They remain. They circulate. They occupy the same space that external events occupied before. The brain is not designed to become silent when the environment becomes silent. It is designed to continue, to process, to move through information. When there is nothing new entering the system uses what is already there. Old thoughts return, not because they are important, not because they require attention, but because the brain continues to generate activity from the material it has stored. A task from earlier in the day may reappear. The steps of that task may replay. The mind may move through the sequence again, even though the task is no longer relevant, even though the task is complete. This is not deliberate. This is not chosen. This is the continuation of mental processes that were active before. The brain does not stop moving through information simply because the body has stopped moving through space. Internal narratives continue. Stories that were present during the day remain. The mind rehearses events. It reviews interactions. It repeats phrases. This happens without effort, without intention, without awareness. The thoughts do not arrive one at a time. They overlap, they layer, they create a continuous presence that cannot be separated into individual parts. This stream does not pause when external stimulation fades. It becomes more noticeable, more persistent, more present. The mind is at its noisiest when the world is at its quietest, not because more thoughts are being generated, but because there is nothing to interrupt them. During the day, external events create breaks in internal activity. A sound redirects attention, a movement shifts focus, a conversation replaces thought. When these interruptions stop, the internal activity continues without pause. The brain moves through memory, through language, through images, through sensations. It does not complete these processes. It does not resolve them. It simply continues them. A memory may begin, the mind may move through a portion of that memory, then the memory may shift to something else, or it may repeat, or it may dissolve into something unrelated. There is no structure to this movement, no order, no sequence that follows logic or purpose. The brain is simply active, and that activity creates noise. This noise is not composed of distinct thoughts. It is composed of fragments, half-formed ideas, partial sentences, images without context. These fragments move through the mind in the same way that sound moves through a room, overlapping, blending, creating a continuous presence that cannot be separated into individual parts. The mind does not organize this material. It does not categorize it. It does not decide what is relevant and what is not. It allows everything to continue, to circulate, to remain present. This is not a problem. This is not a dysfunction. This is the normal state of mental activity when external input decreases. The brain continues to do what it was doing before. It continues to process information. It continues to generate thought. The difference is that there is nothing to replace those thoughts, nothing to redirect them, nothing to end them. And so they continue, without resolution, without conclusion, without rest. The mind moves through the same material repeatedly. A phrase may return, an image may reappear, a sensation may replay. Not because it holds meaning, not because it requires attention, but because the brain continues to move through the information it contains. This movement does not slow down when the environment becomes still. It does not fade when external noise fades. It remains dense, continuous, present. The thoughts do not separate themselves. They do not pause between one and the next. They do not create space. They fill the mind completely. They occupy the entire field of awareness. And this continues, without change, without direction, without end. The brain continues to organize information as if the day has not ended. It maintains structure. It maintains planning. It maintains the systems that were active during wakeful hours. These systems do not recognize that the environment has changed. They continue to operate in the same mode, the same patterns, the same orientation. The mind remains directed outward, even when there is nothing outside to direct itself toward. It prepares for action. It anticipates responses. It maintains readiness for engagement with the external world. This readiness does not fade simply because the body has become still. The brain continues to narrate. It continues to construct sentences internally. It continues to speak to itself in the same way it would speak to someone else. This internal narration follows the rules of language. It follows the structure of conversation. It maintains grammar. It maintains order. The brain continues to organize information as if the day has not ended. It maintains structure. It maintains planning. It maintains the systems that were active during wakeful hours. These systems do not recognize that the environment has changed. They continue to operate in the same mode, the same patterns, the same orientation. The mind remains directed outward, even when there is nothing outside to direct itself toward. It prepares for action. It anticipates responses. It maintains readiness for engagement with the external world. This readiness does not fade simply because the body has become still. The brain continues to narrate. It continues to construct sentences internally. It continues to speak to itself in the same way it would speak to someone else. This internal narration follows the rules of language. It follows the structure of conversation. It maintains grammar. It maintains order. The thoughts are formed into words. The words are formed into phrases. The phrases follow one another in a sequence that resembles communication. But there is no one listening. There is no external recipient. The narration continues anyway. The brain does not recognize that this structure is no longer necessary. It continues to plan, to rehearse, to organize information into categories that could be used if action were required. The mind moves through tasks that are not happening. It considers decisions that are not being made. It reviews options that are not being chosen. This is not deliberate planning. This is the continuation of wake-oriented activity. The brain is still operating as if engagement with the world is imminent, as if something could happen at any moment that would require a response. The attention managing systems remain engaged. They continue to scan, to monitor, to maintain awareness of potential changes. But there are no changes. There is no input. There is nothing to respond to. The systems continue anyway. The mind maintains a sense of direction, a sense of purpose, a sense of forward movement even though nothing is moving forward. It creates goals that are not real. It considers outcomes that will not occur. It organizes time that does not exist. This is not imagination. This is not creativity. This is the normal functioning of systems that are designed to keep the brain ready for action. These systems do not turn off easily. They do not recognize stillness as a signal to stop. They interpret stillness as temporary, as a pause, as a brief interval before activity resumes. And so they remain active, they remain structured, they remain oriented toward the external world. The brain continues to use language internally. It continues to form thoughts into complete statements. It continues to speak to itself as though the words matter, as though the words are leading somewhere, as though the narration has a purpose. But the purpose has dissolved, the direction has dissolved, only the structure remains. The mind continues to organize, to categorize, to separate information into parts that could be useful. It does not ask whether this information will be used. It does not assess whether the organization is necessary. It simply continues the process, because the process is what the brain does during waking hours. And the brain has not yet stopped being in waking hours. The systems that maintain control remain engaged. They continue to monitor thought. They continue to guide attention. They continue to suppress irrelevant information. This suppression requires effort. It requires coordination. It requires the brain to maintain boundaries between what is allowed and what is not. These boundaries are still present. They are still being enforced. The mind has not yet allowed itself to drift. It remains contained, structured, directed. The internal narration continues without pause. It continues without variation. It continues in the same tone, the same rhythm, the same style that was present during the day. The brain does not shift into a different mode. It does not soften its approach. It does not reduce its control. It continues to operate as though the external world is still present, as though engagement is still required, as though action is still possible. This orientation does not change simply because the eyes are closed. The mind remains ready. It remains prepared. It remains structured for interaction with things that are not there. The planning continues. The organizing continues. The internal speech continues. Not because these activities are productive, not because they serve a function, but because the brain has not yet transitioned out of the mode that supports them. The systems are still running, the processes are still active, the structure is still intact. The brain continues to treat thought as something that must be managed, as something that must be guided, as something that must be shaped into coherent form. This shaping requires energy, it requires attention, it requires the coordination of multiple systems that were designed for wakeful engagement. These systems have not yet released their hold. They continue to maintain order, to maintain clarity, to maintain the sense that thought is intentional and directed. But the intention has faded, the direction has faded, only the structure remains. The mind continues to use the structures of waking thought without the content of waking thought. It rehearses without purpose, it plans without intention, it organizes without need. The cognitive systems remain oriented outward, they remain ready for input, they remain structured for response. But there is no input, there is no response. There is only the continuation of patterns that were established earlier. Patterns that have not yet recognized that the context has changed. The brain remains in the mode of wakefulness. It remains in the state of readiness. It remains structured for engagement. And this structure continues, without shift, without softening, without release. The thoughts do not stop. They begin to change shape. The precision that was present before becomes less distinct, less defined, less solid. Ideas that held clear edges begin to soften at their boundaries. The sharpness fades, the clarity reduces, the exactness loosens. This happens slowly, without announcement, without a moment when the change becomes obvious. One thought leads to another, but the connection between them becomes less visible, less logical, less deliberate. The mind still moves from one idea to the next, but the path between them is no longer clear, the relationship is no longer apparent. Thoughts continue to arrive, they continue to occupy awareness, but they no longer follow the structure they followed before. The internal narration becomes less complete. Sentences that were whole begin to fragment. Words that were chosen with intention become less intentional. The brain continues to generate language, but the language becomes less organized, less governed, less controlled. A thought may begin with direction. It may seem to be moving toward something specific. Then the direction fades. The thought continues, but it is no longer moving toward the same place, or it is no longer moving at all. The mind does not notice this shift immediately. The activity continues, the movement continues, but the structure beneath the activity has started to loosen. Ideas that were connected begin to drift apart. The links between them weaken, the associations become less stable. A thought about one thing may shift into a thought about something unrelated, not abruptly, not with a clear break, but gradually, softly, without resistance. The mind does not question this shift. It does not recognize that the continuity has been disrupted. It simply continues. The precision of thought begins to fade. An idea that was clear a moment ago becomes less clear. The details blur. The specifics dissolve. The thought remains present, but it is no longer sharp. It is no longer fully formed. The brain continues to process information, but the processing becomes less exact, less defined, less complete. Thoughts that were linear begin to curve. Ideas that followed a sequence begin to overlap. The order that was present before becomes less rigid, less enforced, less maintained. The internal speech continues, but the sentences become less finished. A phrase may trail off. A word may be replaced by something vague, something approximate. The brain no longer insists on completion. It no longer requires that each thought be brought to an end before the next one begins. The boundaries between thoughts become softer. One idea blends into another. The separation between them decreases. The mind continues to move through thought, but the movement becomes less intentional, less directed, less purposeful. A thought may appear without context, without origin, without a clear reason for its arrival. The brain does not question this. It does not search for the connection. It simply allows the thought to be present. The precision fades further. Ideas that were specific become general. Concepts that were concrete become abstract. Details that were present begin to disappear. The thought continues, but it is no longer the same thought it was when it began. The mind does not hold on to ideas as firmly as it did before. A thought may be present for a moment, then fade, then return in a slightly different form. Or it may not return at all. The continuity weakens. The thread that connected one thought to the next becomes thinner, less visible, less strong. The brain continues to generate activity, but the activity is no longer organized around a central purpose. It is no longer building towards something. It is simply occurring. Thoughts arrive without intention. They drift without guidance. They dissolve without completion. The internal speech becomes less coherent. Words appear in sequences that do not follow the rules they followed before. Phrases form without grammar. Sentences begin without ending. The brain does not correct this. It does not restore order. It allows the loosening to continue. The structure that maintained thought begins to relax. The systems that enforced clarity begin to release their hold. Not completely, not all at once, but gradually, softly, without effort. The thoughts remain present. They remain active, but they are no longer precise, no longer intentional, no longer connected in the way they were before. The mind continues to move through ideas, but the movement becomes less linear. It is no longer predictable. It is no longer controlled. A thought may shift direction without reason. It may dissolve into something unrelated. It may return to something that was already left behind. The brain does not resist this. It does not attempt to restore the original path. It simply follows wherever the thought moves. The clarity continues to fade. The edges of ideas become softer. The definitions become looser. The precision decreases. Thoughts that were distinct begin to merge. Concepts that were separate begin to overlap. The boundaries between them disappear. The mind no longer organizes thought into categories. It no longer separates relevant information from irrelevant information. It allows everything to remain present, to circulate, to blend, to exist without structure. The internal speech becomes quieter, not in volume, but in presence. The words are still there, but they carry less weight, less meaning, less purpose. The brain continues to use language, but the language is no longer serving the same function. It is no longer constructing meaning. It is no longer building understanding. It is simply moving, shifting, dissolving. The thoughts do not stop. They continue, but they are no longer held together by the same force, the same intention, the same control. The continuity has loosened, the precision has faded, the structure has softened, and the mind continues, without direction, without clarity, without end. The words that were clear begin to lose their shape. Language that followed rules no longer follows those rules in the same way. The internal voice continues to speak, but the speech becomes less organized, less complete, less governed by structure. Sentences that were whole begin to break apart. A phrase may begin, then stop. Another phrase may appear without connection to what came before. The mind continues to use words, but the words no longer form patterns that hold meaning in the way they did earlier. A word appears, another word follows. The relationship between them is no longer clear. The brain does not construct sentences with the same precision. It does not follow grammar. It does not maintain the order that makes language coherent. The internal speech becomes fragmented. Pieces of sentences remain, pieces dissolve, pieces appear without context. The words are still present, they still move through awareness, but they no longer build toward anything. A thought may begin as language, as a sentence forming in the mind. Then the sentence loses its structure, the words separate, the meaning fades. What remains is not silence, it is language without coherence, words without sequence, speech without form. The brain continues to generate verbal thought, but the thought no longer maintains itself, it no longer holds together. A word may repeat, the same word appearing multiple times, without variation, without purpose, without connection to anything else. The mind does not question this repetition. It does not attempt to move beyond it. It allows the word to remain, to cycle, to continue without change. Other words appear briefly, then disappear. They do not stay long enough to form meaning. They do not connect to what comes after. The internal speech speaks, but what it speaks is no longer intentional. It is no longer directed. It is no longer trying to communicate anything. It is simply occurring. Phrases appear in fragments, half of a sentence, part of an idea, a word that seems to belong to something larger, but the larger thing is not present. The brain does not complete these fragments. It does not fill in what is missing. It allows them to exist in their incomplete form. The structure of language continues to dissolve. Words that once appeared in a specific order now appear in no particular order. A verb without a subject, a description without an object, a sound that resembles language but does not function as language. The mind continues to move through this material. It continues to experience these words, but it does not organize them. It does not arrange them. It does not give them meaning. The internal narration becomes less recognizable as narration. It becomes something quieter, something less defined, something that exists between language and non-language. Words appear without intention. They arrive in the mind without being chosen, without being summoned, without serving a purpose. The brain does not select these words deliberately. It does not construct them into messages. It simply allows them to pass through awareness. A single word may linger. It may remain present for a period of time. Then it fades, or it shifts into a different word, or it dissolves into something that is no longer verbal. The coherence that held language together has weakened. The rules that governed sentence structure have loosened. The patterns that made speech understandable have begun to fall apart. The mind still uses words, but the words no longer behave the way they did before. They do not follow one another in sequences that create meaning. They do not build ideas. They do not express thoughts. They simply appear and disappear and appear again in different arrangements that do not follow logic. The internal speech becomes less distinct. It becomes less like speech and more like the echo of speech, the suggestion of language without the substance of language. A phrase may form partially, a few words strung together in a way that almost resembles communication. Then the phrase breaks, the words scatter, the meaning is lost. The brain does not attempt to recover what was lost. It does not reconstruct the phrase. It moves on to whatever appears next, which may be another fragment, another incomplete thought, a word that seems to belong to something larger, but the larger thing is not present. The verbal system continues to operate, but it no longer operates with precision. It no longer maintains control over what is being generated. Words arrive randomly. They arrive without sequence. They arrive without connection to the thoughts that preceded them or the thoughts that follow. The mind experiences these words as they come. It does not organize them. It does not interpret them. It does not give them structure. The language that was once clear has become vague. The sentences that were once whole have become broken. The speech that was once coherent has become scattered. And this continues without restoration, without correction, without return to the patterns that existed before. The internal voice speaks, but what it speaks is no longer understandable, not because the words are unfamiliar, but because they no longer form anything that resembles communication. They exist as individual sounds, individual shapes, individual fragments that do not combine to meaning. The brain continues to generate these fragments. It continues to produce language-like activity, but the activity no longer serves the function of language. It does not convey information. It does not construct ideas. It does not communicate anything to anyone, not even to the mind itself. It simply continues, word after word, fragment after fragment, sound after sound, without coherence, without structure, without definition. The words are still there. They have not disappeared, but they have lost their ability to connect, to form, to mean. The internal speech has become something else, something less organized, something less defined, something that exists in the space where language begins to dissolve. And the mind remains present within this dissolving. It experiences the fragments as they appear. It allows the words to drift. It does not hold on to them. It does not try to make them whole again. Something appears in the mind that is not made of words, an image, a shape, a color, a form that exists without language surrounding it. This image has no story, no explanation, no reason for being present. It simply appears. The mind does not create a narrative around this image. It does not ask where the image came from. It does not assign meaning to what has appeared. The image exists briefly, then it fades, or it shifts into something else. Another image may follow, unrelated to the first, unconnected to anything that came before. The brain continues to generate these images, but they do not build upon one another. They do not form a sequence. They do not create continuity. Each image is separate, isolated, complete in itself, though incomplete in purpose. An object may appear. A place may surface. A face may emerge briefly in awareness. The mind does not recognize these things as significant. It does not interpret them. It does not place them within context. They appear without background, without setting, without relationship to anything else. The image is present, then it is not present, then something else is present. There is no transition between one image and the next, no bridge, no connection that makes the shift logical or understandable. The mind simply experiences one image, then another, without questioning, without analyzing, without holding on. These images do not remain long enough to be examined. They surface briefly, then dissolve. They appear, then fade. They exist for a moment, then disappear. The brain does not try to keep them. It does not try to extend their presence. It allows them to come and go without resistance. A color may fill awareness, not attached to anything, not part of a scene, just color, existing on its own. Then the color fades or changes or is replaced by something that is not color. The mind does not name these things. It does not label them. It does not organize them into categories. It simply allows them to be present while they are present. An image of water may appear, not a memory of water, not a thought about water, just the image itself, formless, without detail, without context. The water is there, then it is not there. Nothing follows from this. Nothing is built upon it. The image does not lead anywhere. The brain continues to produce these brief visual forms. They emerge without instruction, without intention, without control. They are not summoned. They are not created deliberately. They simply arrive. A pattern may surface, lines, shapes, forms that do not represent anything specific, that do not resemble anything from memory. The mind experiences these patterns without trying to understand them, without trying to make them into something recognizable. They exist as they are, undefined, uninterpreted, unattached. Then they dissolve. The images have no narrative, no beginning, no middle, no end. They do not tell a story. They do not progress toward anything. They appear in isolation, each one unrelated to the one before, each one separate from the one that follows. The mind does not connect them. It does not create relationships between them. It does not build meaning from their presence. It simply allows them to pass through awareness. A face may appear, not a face from memory, not a face that belongs to anyone, just the suggestion of a face, vague, incomplete. The face does not stay. It does not develop. It does not become clearer. It fades before it can be determined what it was. The brain does not hold on to these images. It does not try to bring them into focus. It does not attempt to make them stable. It allows them to remain brief, to remain unclear, to remain without definition. Another image surfaces, a room, a space, an area without walls or boundaries, just the sense of space existing. The space is not familiar. It is not remembered. It is not constructed from anything known. It is simply there, for a moment. Then it is gone. The mind does not question where these images come from. It does not search for their origin. It does not try to place them within experience. It accepts them as they appear, without explanation, without interpretation. The images continue to surface, one after another, without pattern, without rhythm, without predictability. They do not repeat. They do not return. Each one is new. Each one is temporary. A shape appears. It has no name. It has no function. It has no relationship to anything else. It exists briefly, then it dissolves. The brain continues this process, generating images that have no context, no meaning, no purpose. They appear, they fade, they are replaced by other images that also have no context, no meaning, no purpose. The mind does not try to organize this activity. It does not try to make sense of what is appearing. It does not create stories around these images. It simply experiences them as they come. An image of light may surface, not bright, not dim, just light, existing without source, without direction. The light is present, then it fades. Nothing follows from this. Nothing is connected to it. The light appeared, the light disappeared. The mind continues to allow these images to pass through awareness. It does not hold them. It does not examine them. It does not give them attention beyond their brief presence. They arrive without announcement. They leave without conclusion. A form appears, indistinct, unclear, something that resembles an object, but is not quite an object. The form shifts, or it remains still, or it fades before it can be determined what it was. The brain does not complete these images. It does not fill in what is missing. It allows them to exist in their incomplete state. The images have no continuity. They do not build upon one another. They do not create a progression. They are separate moments, separate appearances, separate forms that exist independently. And the mind remains present within this, experiencing each image as it surfaces, allowing each image to fade, without interpretation, without narrative, without context. The sense of time that was present before begins to fade. Moments that were separate begin to lose their separation. What came before and what comes after become less distinct, less clear, less defined. The mind no longer tracks duration in the way it did earlier. The awareness of how long something has lasted weakens. A thought may be present. It may seem to last for a long time, or it may seem to last for no time at all. The brain does not measure this. It does not compare one duration to another. It simply allows time to exist without definition. The sequence of events becomes less apparent. What happened first and what happened second are no longer organized into a clear order. One moment blends into another moment. The boundary between them dissolves. The mind experiences this blending without resistance, without effort to separate what has merged. Time continues to pass, but the passing is no longer felt in the same way. The progression from one moment to the next is no longer noticed. Moments do not follow one another in a line. They do not create a path. They do not build upon what came before. They exist without relation to each other. A thought may appear, then another thought may appear. The mind does not recognize how much time has passed between them, or whether any time has passed at all. The brain no longer maintains the structure that orders events, the structure that places things in sequence, the structure that creates a sense of movement through time. This structure has loosened, it has softened, it has begun to dissolve. What was once organized into past, present, and future becomes less organized. The categories weaken, the distinctions blur. The mind no longer holds on to the past in the same way. It no longer anticipates the future in the same way. It exists in a state that is neither fully past nor fully future, just present, but a present without clear edges. A moment occurs. The mind experiences the moment, then the moment is gone. But it is not gone in a way that feels like ending. It simply is no longer there, and what replaces it does not feel like a new beginning. It is simply what is there now. The sense of duration fades further. The awareness of how long anything lasts becomes vague, uncertain, unimportant. Time may stretch, or it may compress. The mind does not notice the difference. A brief moment may feel extended, an extended period may feel brief, or neither may feel like anything in particular. The brain no longer tracks these changes. It no longer measures. It no longer compares. It simply continues without reference to time. The sequence that once governed thought has weakened. One idea no longer leads clearly to the next idea. The progression is no longer visible. Thoughts appear, they exist, they fade, but they do not create a timeline. They do not mark moments that can be placed in order. The mind experiences each thought as it comes, but it does not remember what came before. It does not anticipate what will come after. It exists only in what is present, and what is present has no clear relation to time. A memory may surface. The mind does not recognize when this memory is from. It does not place it in the past. The memory is simply there, existing in the same space as everything else, without temporal location. An image may appear. The image does not belong to a specific time. It does not carry the sense of when it occurred. It is simply an image, present now, though it may not be from now. The brain does not organize these things into chronology. It does not separate what happened earlier from what is happening now. Everything exists together, without order, without sequence, without time. The sense of progression fades. The feeling that one moment leads to another moment diminishes. There is no forward movement, no backward movement, just existence without direction through time. Moments do not accumulate, they do not build, they do not create a sense of time passing. They simply occur, then they are replaced by other moments that also simply occur. The mind no longer holds the sense of before and after. These concepts have lost their clarity, their definition, their separation. What was before is not clearly before. What comes after is not clearly after. Everything exists in a state that is not quite present and not quite timeless, just undefined. The brain continues to experience moments, but the moments do not create duration. They do not form a sequence. They do not establish order. They are separate, unconnected, existing without temporal relation. A thought may repeat. The mind does not recognize that it has already occurred. It experiences the thought as if for the first time. Or it experiences the thought as if it has always been occurring, without beginning, without repetition. The distinction between new and familiar fades. The sense of whether something has happened before or is happening now becomes unclear. Time has lost its structure, its framework, its ability to organize experience. What remains is experience without time, moments without duration, sequence without order. The mind continues within this. It continues to exist, to be aware, to experience. But it no longer experiences time in the way it did before. The progression has stopped. The measurement has stopped. The tracking has stopped. What was once organized into moments that could be counted has become something that cannot be counted, something that exists without reference to when, without reference to how long, without reference to what comes next. The brain allows this. It does not resist. It does not attempt to restore temporal structure. It continues without time, without sequence, without order. Just continuing, without knowing how long it has been continuing, without knowing what came before, without knowing what will come after. A thought appears that still holds its shape. It is complete. It is formed. It resembles the thoughts that came earlier in the day. The words are clear. The idea is whole. The structure is intact. This thought exists briefly in the mind. It carries meaning. It follows logic. It maintains coherence. The brain does not recognize this thought as different from the ones that have been dissolving. It does not mark this moment as significant. The thought is simply there, present, formed, whole. It may be about something ordinary, something unimportant, something that does not require attention. But it is clear. It is organized. It is complete in a way that other thoughts are no longer complete. The mind experiences this thought without knowing it is the last one that will hold this form. There is no awareness that coherence is ending, no recognition that structure is about to dissolve completely. The thought exists. It is experienced. It occupies awareness. Then it begins to fade, not suddenly, not with interruption, just fading, softening, losing its clarity. The words that were distinct become less distinct. The idea that was whole becomes less whole. The structure that was intact begins to loosen. The brain does not try to hold on to this thought. It does not attempt to keep it clear. It allows the fading to occur. The thought becomes quieter, not in sound, but in presence. It is still there, but it is less there than it was. The edges blur. The details dissolve. The meaning weakens. What was a complete thought becomes something less complete, something partial, something that no longer holds together in the same way. The mind continues to experience this fading without resistance, without effort to restore what is being lost. The thought that was clear is no longer clear. The coherence that was present is no longer present, and nothing replaces it. No new thought forms to take its place. No new idea arrives to fill the space. The thought simply fades, and what follows is not a thought. What follows is something else, something that does not have the structure of thought, something that exists without form. The brain does not notice this transition. There is no boundary, no line, no moment when thought ends and non-thought begins. There is only the fading, the dissolving, the quiet disappearance of what was there. The last coherent thought does not announce itself. It does not leave a trace. It does not create a memory that can be recalled later. It fades without being remembered, without being noticed, without being marked as the final moment of clarity. The mind was experiencing a thought. Then the mind was no longer experiencing a thought. And there is no awareness of this shift, no recognition that something has ended. The thought that held meaning no longer holds meaning. The words that formed sentences no longer form sentences. The idea that was whole no longer exists as an idea. It has dissolved into something that cannot be called thought. The brain continues to be active. It continues to generate mental content, but the content is no longer organized, no longer structured, no longer coherent. What remains is not thinking. It is something quieter, something less defined, something that exists without the framework that makes thought recognizable. The last clear thought has faded, and with it, the ability to form clear thoughts has faded. Not permanently, not completely, but for now, in this moment, in this state. The mind no longer constructs ideas, it no longer organizes language, it no longer maintains the patterns that create coherence. It exists in a state that is beyond thought, or beneath thought, or between thought and something else. The thought that was whole is gone. Nothing has taken its place. Nothing will take its place. The mind continues without thought, without structure, without clarity. It does not search for what has been lost. It does not attempt to restore coherence. It simply continues in this new state. A state without form, without definition, without the ability to recognize itself. The last clear thought faded. The mind did not notice. The brain did not mark the moment. There was clarity. Then there was no clarity. And the transition between them was so soft, so gradual, so quiet, that it could not be felt, could not be observed, could not be remembered. The thought is gone. The coherence is gone. The structure is gone. What remains is formless, undefined, unstructured. The brain continues to exist in this state. It continues to be active. It continues to generate something. But what it generates is no longer thought. It is something else, something that has no name, something that cannot be described in the language that thought uses, because language requires structure, and structure has dissolved. The last coherent thought appeared. It existed briefly. It faded. And nothing coherent has appeared since then. The mind is still present, still aware in some way, still experiencing. But what it experiences is no longer organized into thoughts. It is just experience, without form, without definition, without end. Awareness that was concentrated begins to spread. What was focused becomes less focused. What was clear becomes less clear. The mind no longer holds attention on any single thing. Nothing remains present long enough to be fully experienced. Awareness continues, but it is thinner now, less dense, less defined. The brain is still aware, but the awareness is no longer directed. It is no longer contained. It is no longer organized around specific content. It drifts, it spreads, it becomes diffuse. A thought may appear briefly in awareness, then it fades before it can be held, before it can be examined, before it can occupy attention fully. Another thought may surface. It also fades quickly. It also disappears before it becomes anything more than a brief presence. The mind does not hold on to these things. It does not focus on them. It does not give them sustained attention. They pass through awareness without being retained, without being noticed fully, without being remembered. Awareness is present, but it is not focused on anything in particular. It exists in a general presence, vague, unfocused, thin. The brain continues to experience, but what it experiences does not hold form, does not hold clarity, does not hold attention. An image may appear. It is present for a moment, then it dissolves. The awareness does not follow it, does not try to keep it clear. The image was there, now it is not there. Awareness continues without it. Another image may surface. It also fades, also disappears, also leaves no trace. The mind is still aware, but the awareness is spread across everything and nothing. It is not concentrated. It is not sharp. It is not clear. It is diffuse, thinned, scattered. Nothing holds the mind's attention. Nothing remains present long enough to create focus. Nothing draws awareness toward itself. The brain continues to generate content, thoughts, images, sensations, but none of these things last. They appear briefly, they fade quickly, they do not accumulate, they do not build, they do not create continuity. Awareness experiences them as they come, but the experience is faint, unclear, without depth. The mind is no longer able to sustain attention on any single thing. The mechanisms that create focus have weakened, have thinned, have dissolved into something that cannot hold concentration. What remains is awareness without object, consciousness without content, presence without definition. The brain continues to be aware, but the awareness is faint. It is spread. It is thinned to the point where nothing can be held clearly. And sensation appears. Awareness touches it briefly. Then the sensation fades. Awareness does not notice the fading. It continues in the same state, diffuse, spread, thin. Nothing holds attention. Nothing creates focus. Nothing draws awareness into concentration. The mind exists in a general presence, vague presence, unfocused presence. It is aware, but the awareness is so thin that nothing can be experienced with clarity, with detail, with sustained attention. Everything passes through, everything fades, everything dissolves before it can be held, and awareness continues, thinned, diffuse, without focus. The capacity to concentrate has diminished, the ability to hold attention has faded, the strength of awareness has spread into something too thin to grasp anything. What remains is presence without form, awareness without object, consciousness without content. The brain is still aware, but the awareness is so diffuse, so thinned, so spread, that it can no longer hold anything, can no longer focus on anything, can no longer experience anything with clarity. It simply continues, thin, diffuse, fading. The mind continues to move without direction. Activity remains present, but it is minimal, quiet, formless. There is no structure to what occurs, no pattern, no organization that gives shape to what is happening. The brain generates content, but the content does not build toward anything, does not resolve into anything, does not complete. It simply continues. Something appears. It drifts. It fades. Something else appears. It also drifts. It also fades. There is no endpoint to this process, no moment when it finishes, no boundary where it stops. The mental activity continues without resolution, without conclusion, without arrival at any particular state. It remains ongoing, minimal, unstructured. The mind does not hold on to what appears. It does not organize what passes through. It does not create order from what arises. It allows everything to drift, to move, to continue without form. A fragment of something may surface. It does not develop. It does not become clearer. It does not transform into anything more defined. It exists briefly, then it dissolves, or it shifts into something else that also exists briefly. The brain does not guide this movement, does not direct it, does not shape it into anything coherent. It simply allows the drift to continue. There is no center to this activity, no focal point, no place where the mind settles or concentrates. Everything moves without settling, without focusing, without forming into anything that could be called a thought or an image or a sensation. It is just movement, minimal movement, ongoing movement. The activity does not increase, it does not decrease, it remains at the same low level, the same quiet level, the same formless level. Nothing intensifies, nothing fades completely, nothing changes in a way that creates distinction. It remains at the same minimal presence, the same unstructured presence, the same drift-in presence. The mind does not attempt to stop this drift, does not attempt to organize it, does not attempt to give it form or purpose. It exists within the drift, allowing it, experiencing it without resistance. Something passes through awareness. It is not clear what it is. It does not stay long enough to be identified. It does not hold form long enough to be recognized. It drifts through, then it is gone, or it has shifted into something else that also exists briefly. The brain does not continue this process without effort, without intention, without control. It generates minimal activity. The activity drifts. The activity continues. There is no resolution, no moment when something completes, no point where something finishes and something else begins. Everything blends, everything continues, everything drifts without boundary. The mental activity has no defined endpoint. It does not move toward cessation. It does not move toward clarity. It does not move toward anything. It simply moves, continuously, minimally, without direction. A vague presence may appear in the mind. It does not develop into anything specific. It does not become more present. It does not become less present. It simply drifts, existing in a state that is neither forming nor dissolving, just continuing. The brain allows this. It does not intervene. It does not shape. It does not guide. It permits the drift to remain ongoing, unstructured, minimal. There is no boundary to this state, no edge where it ends, no limit where it stops. It continues without definition, without containment, without conclusion. The mind drifts within this. It does not separate itself from the drift. It does not observe the drift from the outside. It is part of the drift, moving with it, continuing with it, existing within it. The activity remains minimal. It does not grow. It does not expand. It does not develop into something more complex. It stays quiet, formless, ongoing. Something may shift. The mind does not notice the shift, does not mark it, does not recognize it as change. The drift continues, with or without the shift, with or without any variation. It simply continues. The brain generates this minimal activity without purpose, without goal, without destination. It occurs because it occurs. It continues because it continues. There is no reason for it, no function to it, no outcome from it. It is simply ongoing, unstructured, minimal. The mind does not question this, does not analyze it, does not try to understand it. It exists within the drift, allowing this, allowing the continuation, allowing the formlessness, allowing the lack of resolution. A fragment appears. It drifts. It dissolves. Another fragment appears. It also drifts. It also dissolves. This process has no endpoint, no conclusion, no moment of completion. It continues. It remains ongoing. It persists without boundary. The mental activity is minimal. It is unstructured. It is continuous. And it remains this way without change, without resolution, without end. The brain continues to generate this drift, to allow this drift, to exist within this drift. There is no moment when it stops, no point where it concludes, no boundary where it ends. It simply continues, minimal, unstructured, ongoing. The mind drifts, the activity drifts, the state drifts, without resolution, without structure, without endpoint. It continues, it persists, it remains, quiet, formless, ongoing. The drift continues, the mind continues within it, the brain continues to generate it, without end, without boundary, without conclusion, just continuing, drifting, ongoing. The mind continues to move without direction. Activity remains present, but it is minimal, quiet, formless. There is no structure to what occurs, no pattern, no organization that gives shape to what is happening. The brain generates content, but the content does not build toward anything, does not resolve into anything, does not complete. It simply continues. Something appears. It drifts. It fades. Something else appears. It also drifts. It also fades. There is no endpoint to this process, no moment when it finishes, no boundary where it stops. The mental activity continues without resolution, without conclusion, without arrival at any particular state. It remains ongoing, minimal, unstructured. The mind does not hold on to what appears. It does not organize what passes through. It does not create order from what arises. It allows everything to drift, to move, to continue without form. A fragment of something may surface. It does not develop. It does not become clearer. It does not transform into anything more defined. It exists briefly, then it dissolves, or it shifts into something else that also exists briefly. The brain does not guide this movement, does not direct it, does not shape it into anything coherent. It simply allows the drift to continue. There is no center to this activity, no focal point, no place where the mind settles or concentrates. Everything moves without settling, without focusing, without forming into anything that could be called a thought or an image or a sensation. It is just movement, minimal movement, ongoing movement. The activity does not increase, it does not decrease. It remains at the same low level, the same quiet level, the same formless level. Nothing intensifies, nothing fades completely, nothing changes in a way that creates distinction. It remains at the same minimal presence, the same unstructured presence, the same drift-in presence. The mind does not attempt to stop this drift, does not attempt to organize it, does not attempt to give it form or purpose. It exists within the drift, allowing it, experiencing it without resistance. Something passes through awareness. It is not clear what it is. It does not stay long enough to be identified. It does not hold form long enough to be recognized. It drifts through, then it is gone, or it has shifted into something else that also exists briefly. The brain does not continue this process without effort, without intention, without control. It generates minimal activity. The activity drifts. The activity continues. There is no resolution, no moment when something completes, no point where something finishes and something else begins. Everything blends, everything continues, everything drifts without boundary. The mental activity has no defined endpoint. It does not move toward cessation. It does not move toward clarity. It does not move toward anything. It simply moves, continuously, minimally, without direction. A vague presence may appear in the mind. It does not develop into anything specific. It does not become more present. It does not become less present. It simply drifts, existing in a state that is neither forming nor dissolving, just continuing. The brain allows this. It does not intervene. It does not shape. It does not guide. It permits the drift to remain ongoing, unstructured, minimal. There is no boundary to this state, no edge where it ends, no limit where it stops. It continues without definition, without containment, without conclusion. The mind drifts within this. It does not separate itself from the drift. It does not observe the drift from the outside. It is part of the drift, moving with it, continuing with it, existing within it. The activity remains minimal. It does not grow. It does not expand. It does not develop into something more complex. It stays quiet, formless, ongoing. Something may shift. The mind does not notice the shift, does not mark it, does not recognize it as change. The drift continues, with or without the shift, with or without any variation. It simply continues. The brain generates this minimal activity without purpose, without goal, without destination. It occurs because it occurs. It continues because it continues. There is no reason for it, no function to it, no outcome from it. It is simply ongoing, unstructured, minimal. The mind does not question this, does not analyze it, does not try to understand it. It exists within the drift, allowing this, allowing the continuation, allowing the formlessness, allowing the lack of resolution. A fragment appears. It drifts. It dissolves. Another fragment appears. It also drifts. It also dissolves. This process has no endpoint, no conclusion, no moment of completion. It continues. It remains ongoing. It persists without boundary. The mental activity is minimal. It is unstructured. It is continuous. And it remains this way, without change, without resolution, without end. The brain continues to generate this drift, to allow this drift, to exist within this drift. There is no moment when it stops, no point where it concludes, no boundary where it ends. It simply continues, minimal, unstructured, ongoing. The mind drifts, the activity drifts, the state drifts, without resolution, without structure, without endpoint. It continues, it persists, it remains, quiet, formless, ongoing. The drift continues, the mind continues within it, the brain continues to generate it, without end, without boundary, without conclusion, just continuing, drifting, ongoing.